Now, there's a real reason for these practices by employees that it just encourages lazy practices, and it's all centered around the quota. You got constant timers on you. You're expected to do so much per day, so much per hour, so much per minute. At that same time, you're working 60 hours a week, and you're on your feet, standing on hard concrete or mats that are just not cushioned well enough to support you and do nothing but twist and manipulate your back in ways that you can't think of. And you get ground out. I almost referred it to a sausage factory. I mean, the employees would walk in, and they would come out just beat up and wore out and not the shells of themselves. It was terrible. And these trends would create a fake it till you break it mentality. You got employees that would just look at items. Sometimes they wouldn't even break the seal on an item. They would just put it into a tote without even looking at the item. And I would bring it to management attention, and nobody would say anything. I would ask why are they allowed to do that? Why are they allowed to hit such high rates when you know that they don't make the items go through the same processes that you're supposed to? And they would basically tell me not to worry about it. That was for the management to worry about. And it would continue. And that's what would happen is each employee who cheated the system would tell their friends how they cheat the system. So you've got people who would, they would process 40 or 50 items an hour without looking at one of them, just to give themselves an hour break so they can scan the items whenever they want in order to have an easier day. Or you'd have people who would walk away from their stations and they have a friend next to them, and they'll scan their stations for 10, 20 minutes while they do whatever they want to do off the clock and come back and their job still stays. At the same time, there's certain job areas where you're not allowed that same lackadaisical watch over because the computer's not able to watch you. These roles are called indirect roles. And there is where they would put all the physical labor. And this is where they would basically wear you out. If you didn't produce what they expected, or you weren't really fitting in with what they were trying to do, they would push you to these indirect roles all the time. And it was almost like a way to break the people who didn't want to be there or break the people that were causing issues, because those roles were generally roles that most people didn't want to do just because it was more physical or more strenuous of a day. During the peak months, peak exasperated these trends. We would have an influx of employees. We would sit at about 800 employees during the normal months. During peak, we would have 1,200 to 1,500 employees during the day. So many that we would have to bust in employees from other parking lots across the street because there wasn't enough parking spaces for the employees there. And then they would encourage them to have power hours during peak. And this was the worst of the worst. I mean, here's where they encourage people to process as many items as possible in an hour's time. You would see people who would process items 27 an hour who would hit 85 an hour. There's no possible way they could do this without cheating the system or not looking at the items. And still, the management would encourage them and give them gift cards or whatever the prize would be for these power hours that they would run. And that basically smacked me in the face and told me they don't care about what the quality of the item is. They don't care about the customer who gets it. They don't care about the vendor item. They don't care about who owns the item. All they care about is as long as their numbers look good to Seattle, and they're producing at a certain rate, that's all they're worried about. Amazon's money is still free flowing because they're recovering most of these damaged items that are being processed incorrectly in the warehouse deal cell. It was, once I realized, it was easy to see, but it took me so long to figure out and put all the puzzle pieces together. It took me almost 2 years to finally understand why they did what they did with the items that were damaged or weren't damaged, and why they just brazenly look past all of these issues. Management's by proxy. Most managers stand over their computers all day. They stare at the system that tracks the numbers, the processed items, the employee time off task, all this stuff. This is all they worry about. So whenever something meets the employee on the lower level of eye that concerns them or could be changed, most of the managers didn't understand what you were talking about.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. I really appreciate your courage.
I couldn't have said it better, Alex. I appreciate your time, and I just appreciate the opportunity to let the customers and the vendors who utilize Amazon to hear my story and kind of get a better insight of what's going on behind their closed doors.
Thank you, Adam.